What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper Golf Channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Best 9 Bets. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, all down below. Goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. Obviously, I had Colin Morikawa on this video, added Ricky Fowler because, well, we had all long shots, ended with the two short plays in that premium Discord, ended up getting the W. As long as Adam Hadwin didn't win that playoff, everybody was going to be happy in that Discord. It was beautiful stuff. So you can sign up for that below. You can sign up through that from BetMGM. Get yourself 2 months completely free. You can ask me questions. I will give you answers. Maybe you won't like the answers, but either way, you can ask me those questions. It's great stuff. Great interaction we have going in the premium Discord. Only if you're 21 and over. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll talk about BetMGM in a little bit. But, friends, it is time for the John Deere Classic. Let's go, baby. Yeah, get on your tractor. Get on your high horse. Let's go. We're going back to my roots. Yes, I played golf at Iowa State. Yes, we went down and played TPC Deere Run a number of times. I'm very familiar with this golf course, very familiar with this golf tournament, even though it's like right on the border, Illinois, Iowa. Iowa they've kind of like made it their own thing. They're weird like that. But either way, great stuff. Check that out. It's going to be fun. And we've got 2 head-to-heads. We also, instead of having a make-miss cut section, because it's absolutely garbage this week and doesn't even make sense, and well, this field is not strong in any way, shape, or form, we are going to go to the top 20 market for 3 picks in a row before we go to the outright market. That's going to be really good stuff. So I'm happy that we were able to change up the format just a tiny bit for the people here to kind of, well, it would have been ridiculous for me to give you miss cuts here at this point in time. Going to pay attention to the weather draw, going to pay attention to some of those things coming into Wednesday, and then when the tournament starts on Thursday. But recording here on Tuesday on the 4th of July. Hope you're having a safe, healthy little time. That's for sure. I'm about to go stuff my face with barbecue after this. It's going to be delicious. Anyway, we got 9 plays. Scorecard below. Producer Alicia, let's get to the picks. My guy Ben Raza here on the Odd Shopper Golf Channel is really going to like where I go with hole number 1 here. I have a head-to-head between Emiliano Grillo and Keith Mitchell. And Keith Mitchell's a player that we have been backing quite a bit at the beginning of this season, and this is another weak field tournament. This is a guy who's number 1 in terms of strokes gained off the tee, but the fairways are wide here at John Deere. Off the tee game, not really necessarily the forte of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for good iron players around the green players. Now, Keith Mitchell's been putting the ball really well, comparable to the rest of this field. 23rd in terms of strokes gained putting. Kind of a wild phenomenon for a guy that I don't think about as being a very positive putter. In fact, he's lost 0.2 strokes gained putting in his 145 career tournament rounds. That's kind of a wild fact. And actually, it doesn't even make sense that it would be that number because he's played in more rounds than that. But either way, he is not a positive putter over the course of his entire PGA Tour career. That is a stone cold fact. But now we're starting to see it spike at the US Open, the Memorial, things of that nature. Friends, you better hit your irons well in a scoring fest. That is what it comes down to. Yeah. And I got one hand in my pocket. The other one's looking at my guy over here. His name, Emiliano Grillo. This dude can hit his irons. And Keith Mitchell just kind of put a capstone on that. He's lost 2.3 strokes gained approach over the course of his last 5 tournaments. Over his last 10, 1.4 strokes gains he's lost with the iron. Emiliano Grillo on the other side, my friends, ho. This guy has been a stripe show of late. Absolute strike show, 6th in terms of strokes gained approach. And then also to add to that, 26th in strokes gained off the tee. He has the same chipping deficiencies as that of Keith Mitchell, but the putter hasn't been as hot, but here, in terms of just being able to go out and put up a number on an easy golf course, I think you're going to see Emiliano Grillo just beat the living you-know-what out of Keith Mitchell. So pretty easy for me right out the get-go. If you're not hitting your irons well, you're probably not going to be making Mike hard in any way, shape, or form, and would like to see the putter come along for the ride if I can. So Keith Mitchell, we're going to target him with a head-to-head, going with my dude, Emiliano Grillo, actually Ben Raza's dude. Hole number 2, we take the 2 favorites of the golf tournament, and this has been something I've done routinely this season, and most of the time it's gone well, like the Jon Rahm, beating him with Tony Finau 2-1 on your money, finding some plus money in that nature. I'm going to be doing the same thing here, and yes, it's also looked bad. Yes, Jon Rahm lost to Scotty Scheffler in Connecticut, thanks to whoever that was on Twitter. I don't really remember. Not that it's still bothering me 3 weeks later. It would never. Anyway, Denny McCarthy and Russell Henley are your two favorites in this golf tournament, and that should tell you all you need to know about the John Deere Classic in this iteration. Yes, Cameron Young also sitting there amongst them in that 16-1 clump, but Russell Henley 14-1, Denny McCarthy 16-1. I don't really find that big of a difference between these two, and in fact, this is kind of a best available type play because I think Denny McCarthy, if you just go through his box score in a number of these tournaments, I think his resume beats out that of Russell Henley. Russell Henley can still be an iron player extraordinaire, if you will, that's for sure. But Denny McCarthy is a putting extraordinaire and has had the approach game come along for the ride. So in terms of putting, he's the best putter in the field. It's not remotely close, which is a little bit scary to say. Number one in terms of strokes game, short game all around, 37th off the approach and 50th amongst his field off the tee. You put that all together, he ranks him in my power rankings, in my model, as number one in the field. And I'm getting even money going up against him, against my dude Russell Henley. And I like this guy a lot. We've actually played some golf together once upon a time. Shout out La Quinta Country Club, him getting ready there for that golf tournament, and got to meet him a couple of times, 10, 12 years ago, played a couple of rounds, and we were friendly. Grown apart because he's on the PGA Tour and very, very good at this. So there you go. He has a 4th at the Masters, a 19th at the RBC, 19th at the Travelers. Everything's been good across the board, especially with the irons. He is the class of the field for the most part in terms of stroke gain approach. There's actually a couple of guys better, and we'll talk about that, I'm pretty sure. But Russell Henley, over the course of his career, been better than them. 9th at strokes gain approach amongst his field. Remember how many more tournaments he's able to play in than some of these other players, so I still rank him top 3 in terms of iron play in my model. Still very good. But I think Denny McCarthy, straight up at even money, I think just edges him out a little bit. I just feel a little bit more comfortable going to him than I do Russell Henley. We have a 7th there at the Travelers last time around, beat Russell Henley in that tournament. A 20th at the US Open, just barely lost by 2 shots there to Russell Henley. But a 2nd at the Memorial, beat Russell Henley. 29th at the PGA Championship, beat Russell Henley, miscut. You see what I'm getting at? We go across the board in all of their previous tournaments. 4 of his last 5, Denny McCarthy's beaten out Russell Henley. This is a very different situation. It's a very different golf course. I'm not saying that to say historically, oh, he's won 4 of the last 5, he's going to win a 5th. I'm saying that I just rank Denny McCarthy as a better golfer overall. So we're going to be firing up Mr. Denny McCarthy. I think he beats him straight up. I think both of them contend, but only one of them makes the betting card in the outright market. A little bit of preview. What's to come. Hole number 3, and friends, it's the top 20 market. You heard me. No make, miss, cut for this week. It is too volatile. The field is too weak. I can't do it. I just can't talk myself into it. So we're going straight to the top 20 market. And this is something a lot of players do. If you look on Twitter, you have each ways. You have different betting configurations of betting the same player to succeed in some capacity. 2 of these players are going to be individual plays that are not quite on my outright card. One of them, though, is, and it's Sepp Straka. That shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who's ever caught my videos before. I think he is truly one of the most underrated golfers on the planet of Earth. Maybe not Jupiter, maybe not Saturn, but for sure on Earth, very underrated. Now, around the green also can be a little bit dicey, is probably the right word. 103rd in strokes gained around the green amongst this field, but he's played in a lot more ridiculous events, considering, I don't know, the PGA. He ended up being an absolute hero, top 10, top 20 in that department for us. But number 1, yes, you heard me, numero uno, in terms of strokes gain approach amongst this field. He's an iron player extraordinaire. That is what I'm looking in these kind of shootout events. You can't make birdies unless you're hitting it close to the hole. It's just kind of what it is, unless you putt like Denny McCarthy, in which case we give him a bypass in every single way, shape, or form, and he's going to be awesome. Whatever. Sepp Straka is a phenomenal player. Top 20 market. He's been positive off the tee in every single event since the Wells Fargo. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 events in a row. Look at that. I can count. And approach has actually been a little bit weak of late. But friends, oh friends, when you start talking about the top 20 market and a top 45 player in the world like Sepp Straka, it's really hard to get away from it in this kind of a field at better than 2-1. We're talking plus 230 over at DraftKings. That was the first bet that I made this week. It was automatic. I'm hoping Sepp Straka odds move even a little bit further. We'll talk about him in the outright section for sure. But as it stands right now, my favorite play on the entire week, Sepp Straka, plus 230 at FanDuel Sportsbook and DraftKings Sportsbook to go out and cover this top 20 for us. I feel like I need to go on an apology tour here for hole number 4. I did the Rainmakers DraftKings live show with Greg Ehrenberg. We do that over on the Stochastic YouTube channel. You should check that out. Talking PGA, and then UFC is going to be what we talk this week, which is actually where I'm going to be this weekend at the UFC fight, sitting ringside next to Tom Brady or whatever. There's going to be celebrities. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be taking pictures. Going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, we're probably going to also bet on Dylan Wu at the markets live. That's going to be something because that's naturally the progression. That's what you do, right? But I need to go on an apology tour because Dylan Wu, I confused with Brandon Wu in terms of numbers. And I said, oh, Brandon Wu is the significantly better player. So what does Dylan Wu do to absolutely spite me and stick it in my eye hole? Well, he goes out and plays some serious golf in Detroit at a fellow birdie fest. He ended up fading on Sunday, only finished 24th, but my God, 3.2 strokes gained around the green, 3.9 with the putter. Gained a little bit positively with the irons, and other than the Travelers where he missed the cut, he had been positive with the irons in every single tournament with strokes gained data since the Valero Texas Open. That was April, the first week of April. It's been a hot second, friends. So Dylan Wu comes in with exactly the kind of form that I'm looking for in guys to be backing here. And this has more to do with the fact that I think this nearly 3-1 kind of money that you're getting on Dylan Wu, we're talking plus 290 at FanDuel Sportsbook, is a little bit egregious. Now, he's not going to make my outright card. I still think, you bet him last week, you're still not cashing that top 20 ticket at the Rocket Mortgage. Would have missed you by the hook. That would have been fun. One shot, painful. Absolute pain. Absolute suffering. But Dylan Wu, he has that approach game. He has the putter that's now been positive in 3 straight as well. It's been a very, very hot putter in some of these weak field events. 15th at the Mexico Open. That's the kind of field that we're dealing with. 16th at the Corrales Punta Cana this season. 10th at the Honda. You see where I'm getting at? Weaker fields, he's ascended his play and found himself in some top 20s. 3 of them thus far in those weaker fields. So Dylan Wu, welcome to the betting card in some way, shape, or form. Didn't anticipate this, but that's what research will do. And hey, maybe a slip at the tongue. Dylan Wu nearly 3-1, plus 290 at FanDuel Sportsbook. Fire it up. Hello, friends. Gordon Sargent here. I'm very good at golf. I haven't shown up yet, but it's time. He's missed 2 of his last 3 cuts. We're talking, of course, about Gordon Sargent. Let's get it done, friend. He's missed the cut in 2 of his 3 events. But, when they're the Masters and then the Rocket Mortgage, where last week he just didn't play all that well, 71-72, misses the cut. Pretty low cut overall. I think we're just going to be riding him. We got to find ways to get value with some of these players that might be a little bit unknown. And when you're talking about Gordon Sargent's pedigree compared to that of some of the other players in this field, he might be near the top. He won the 2022 Division I Men's Individual Championship this season. It's him, and then now Ludwig Uber ends up making his professional debut. He's now out of the mix, but Gordon Sargent's trying to play himself into a PGA Tour card himself. We've seen him at the US Open where he finished T39. That's the kind of player he is. He's also the player who hit the putt, had it bounce up. That was ridiculous. Back of the cup, they had to fix the cup at the US Open on 18. Not very nice of them, if you ask me. I think good karma in his corner, although I don't have that accounted for in my model, just being honest. Gordon Sargent, though, I do think is one of those young, talented players that when you start talking about the top 20 market, I don't need to back him automatically here. And Ludwig, his numbers have gotten really short coming off of a really nice week that he had in Detroit there. Ended up finishing T40 considering he shot 73-72 on the weekend. But I think the overall talent was very apparent with the 65-67 that he shot there. The number 1 world amateur coming into that event. And now he is shortened like crazy. And you know who's been going toe-to-toe with him for the last 2 years? This dude right here, Gordon Sargent. This is where you just take advantage of a marketplace that has shifted completely in one direction, and you take the guy who's a little bit lesser known, who isn't as highly touted, who's sitting with plus 360 to top 20 at DraftKings.com, as opposed to being one of the shortest tournament odds players here. That's a huge disparity. Again, Ludwig's number is plus 330 to top 10. And I feel like these 2 players, we don't know enough about their sample size, so Why wouldn't I do the smart kid thing and go to Gordon Sargent in this kind of situation? Answer, I'm going to. I'm going to pretend like I'm one of the smart kids because I want to be like the cool kids. Used to fit in. Used to fit in. You know what I was getting at. Hole number 5, friends, Gordon Sargent. Think this is a really sharp add to the betting card when you start talking about top 20s at higher numbers than a player. But again, very, very comparable. We have a lot of sample size that we need to accumulate on both of them. Both of them ripped it up in college. Both of them primed to be exceptional professional players. But I think Gordon Sargent, the way better number. Speaking of better numbers, friends, BetMGM, they've got some really good ones on the board for this week in the PGA streets and the MLB streets. So many great offerings with BetMGM, and here's a couple of them. You're going to get 2 months of my betting card in MLB, PGA completely free. And yes, when NFL shows up, when NBA comes back around, you're going to get that as well. It's Sunday through Friday. Saturday is a day for my wife where I do exactly what she tells me to do. It makes my life way better, friends. And sometimes I'll occasionally be on my phone and she'll yell at me, Eric, stop it. And I'll be like talking to everybody in the chat. And she'll be like, Eric, stop it. And I'm like, you know what? No, the people need to know this play. So I still have you covered a little bit on Saturdays. Although if she tells me to put my phone down, I apologize. So there you go. 6 days a week. You get me Sunday to Friday, 2 months completely free of that betting card. But that's not all, friends. At BetMGM, you'll also get up to $1,000 in bonus bets with your first bet that you make. So if you want to put $100 into BetMGM and put $100 on your first play, if it wins, keep the money. Move along with your life. It's beautiful. But if it loses, we got you covered. You're still going to get that money back in bonus bets to fire up another day, another time in whatever capacity you want. So BetMGM, my friends, that is a book that you want exposure to. So I know you have your DraftKings, your FanDuel. Sign up at BetMGM. Take advantage right now, only if you're 21 and over. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, y'all, 4 picks. Let's get to the outright market, shall we? We shall. Wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Yeah, we're going to JT Poston to start off our lovely little betting card. And this guy, he has not been on the card in a hot second, mainly because his form went out the flippin' window. Right down the drain. He's now missed the cut in 5 of his last 7 events. But you know what? Sometimes happens from time to time, whether it's a Kevin Streelman going to the Travelers or whether it's, one of the top players who just goes to a golf course that they're comfortable with. My guy, Sam Burns, going down to Florida, playing it at Innisbrook, the Copperhead course. Just saying. There's certain golf courses and certain tournaments where the guys just kind of light up and you find that spark. This is such a long number for a defending champion in this kind of a field who has had incredible iron play in the past. He has a 10th at the Valspar, which is ironic because that's what I was just talking about with Sam Burns. But either way, JT Poston has not had a very good 2023 PGA Tour season. But there's a lot of time, and there's an opportunity here at this golf course to kind of reclaim some of that form. Really, this has everything to do with the number comparable to this field strength and the fact that he's a defending champion and has good juju here. And some of the other players in his range are Doug Gim, Dylan Wu, Michael Kim. Depending on where you find these numbers, and make sure you're shopping for the best lines every single time out. JT Poston sitting at 60-1 over on FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 240 to top 20. Those are numbers I'm kind of interested in. And, it definitely made the betting card here in the outright market. Might add a top 20 here, just to kind of have a little bit of extra there, maybe each way it. But JT Poston, my first player made the betting card, hole number 6. Hole number 7, I think we already covered it, but you know what? For all the people who might have missed out, we're going to Sepp Straka. He had to be making the betting card immediately. Another player that, again, I am in love with this top 20 number. In terms of an outright market, there are still some players who are very, very capable. And I would say by John Deere standards, this is still Cameron Young, Denny McCarthy, Russell Henley. These are notable PGA Tour players. Not exactly the bottom of the barrel by any means, but you do have an issue where there's a lot of young talent, a lot of players like Emiliano Grillo, just impossible to get to like a 30-1 number on him in this kind of a golf tournament, in this kind of a situation, especially if it's going to be just straight up putting off, even though Emiliano Grillo can go low. That's for sure. But Sepp Straka, friends, we talked about his iron play first amongst this field over the course of his last 50 rounds. If that's the sample size you choose to use, awesome, because his last couple of weeks have not been as sharp in that department. But very weak field. He's locked in for pretty much every major going forward, has a Honda W from last year, can win in some of these weaker fields, has proven that. I think Sepp Straka, this is a very easy add for me on the betting card based on his profile here. 55-1. pretty easy ad. Speaking of easy ads, though, that's not my favorite outright play. If I had to make one play at their current odds on the entire betting card to outright win this golf tournament, there is no doubt about it. 35 to 1, Eric Cole is probably that guy. We're talking about a 24th at the Travelers, 39th at the US Open, 6th at the RBC Canadian. He's been negative off the tee in 4 of his last 5, but that's not really a concern that I have here. As long as he can avoid some of the long rough, that would be awesome. And also, it's based on comparable fields, and this field is not exactly what he was facing there at the old US Open, throwing it out there. He's been awesome with the irons, been incredible with the putter. In fact, that's what his buddy Sam Saunders talked about repeatedly when he put himself into contention at the Honda, finishing second there this season, ended up losing to Chris Kirk in a playoff. Pretty awesome playoff. But either way, Sam Saunders, we're talking Arnold Palmer's grandson. He glows about this guy. Bay Hill, we've talked about him multiple times on this program, ended up putting a 6th at the RBC Canadian. Again, good results here of late, even though the driver hasn't been exactly spot on, but positive with the putter in a very prominent way. 2.6 strokes gained with the flat stick in his last 4 tournaments, at least that amount. And in 3 of those, he put a 5+. That is what I want. I want iron players, I want putters. I want putters, I want iron players. And if you can do them together, you're automatically on the card in spades. Eric Cole, Yahtzee friend, my favorite outright play for us this week. 35 to 1, Lego. But I got to dip into the short end of the pool here at the very end. It's sad because I was hoping that I could build out a betting card where I didn't dip south of the 28 to 1. But it's just so hard not to look at Russell Henley, Denny McCarthy, and Cameron Young and think that one of them won't emerge. So I'm just going best available, and I am playing Denny McCarthy. We've already made the stand in the outright market. We're going to take him over Russell Henley. And now let's take it a step further. I think this is a golf tournament that is very primed to be won by one of those 3, and that's problematic. We've seen time and time again some of these shorter odds players. Other than Kurt Kitayama at Bay Hill, it has been the year of just absolute short odds players. Sure, you got one massive type outlier here and there, but nothing really all that prominent. It's been one of those seasons. I think you want to be looking into the short end for at least one of these players on almost every card. And last week, we ended up adding 2. We ended up adding the late Ricky Fowler. Well, I made that sound like he died. I late added Ricky Fowler. Very important distinction. In addition to the Colin Morikawa play that we had on this program, wanted to have both of them. And sure enough, 2 of 3 players in that playoff. God, I was sweating bullets because if Adam Hadwin won that, I don't know. I probably wouldn't be doing this program today. That's for sure. Nice to be getting a W. But anyway, Denny McCarthy, 16 to 1 on DraftKings, best available number. I know it sounds disgusting. I know it sounds horrible, but best informed player, I believe, in the entire field. I'll take that shot, 16 to 1. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Best 9 Bets. Friends, go on down here to that bottom bar. Let me know your favorite play on the board for the John Deere Classic. Again, TPC Deere Run. Golf course near and dear to my heart. Kind of. I didn't play as well as these guys are going to go play out there, that's for sure. Although, it's very scoreable. I've shot some numbers there. There's going to be some numbers shot here at the old John Deere Classic. Going to go low like an 18-wheeler. Speaking of, check out those John Deere tractors. Good stuff. BetMGM, check them out as well. Only if you're 21 and over. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'll be back here next week for, we're getting close to going overseas. It's going to be fun. Let's get ourselves rocking. Until then, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck at the John Deere Classic this weekend.